Perfect. I think I'm live. That's awesome. Just wait for some people to show up, see what's going on, and take your call, not your calls. I got some people here. Take some comments, find out who's coming in. If you're coming in to the feed, just make sure you go ahead and announce you're here so I know you're here. I can't really see who's coming in on the PC anyways, not on the Mac that I've got, so I can't really see. But announce that you're here. Love having you guys here. I'm going to talk about a lot of really cool things, so we'll just wait for the chat to get a little bit fuller before I start moving into some things. And yeah, just announce, hey, there's Chris. Just announce that you guys are here. We're ready to rock and roll when we get a little bit fuller here. If you guys have questions, I see the chat right here live, so I'll go ahead and try and get those as we move along through the program, through the show, what we've got. I actually have a guest speaker coming in, so we'll see how that works. Should work okay, working with a new program, so hopefully they'll be able to pop in, pop out with no problem whatsoever. Looks like we got about 8 people in here. We'll wait till we'll give another few minutes. What's up, Jen? How are you? Jen's a fun friend. She does a lot of trading. Me, my brother and I, right? How about some proper English? Jen's actually done some trading with us, some purchasing of our small businesses. We have a business called Game Breakers where we sell and trade and do memorabilia stuff. So she's bought some cool stuff. So thanks, Jen, for participating, coming in. We got about 10 people in here. We'll wait a few more minutes and see who else comes in here. But if you're coming in here, make sure you go ahead and let me know in the comments right here that you're in. And again, if you have questions, let me know. We've got a full lineup tonight, so that's going to be real interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. And let's see what we have here. Here we go. Here we go. All kinds of fun stuff. Cool, got 7 people, guys. Welcome. Thanks for coming in the chat. Who do we got here? Kathy, welcome. Thank you for coming and checking it out. Okay, guys, I'm going to get started. We got 11 people looking on it. I just really kind of want to go over a little bit about who I am, why I'm doing this, where I'm going with this, and then I really want to kind of focus it in on a couple small topics when it comes to political school. If politics isn't really your thing, this is really where we're going to kind of dig deep into some things. And even if it isn't your thing, we're going to have an opportunity to kind of see a different side of some interesting points of view. The topics we're going to be covering tonight is really kind of my thoughts on the election, perceived fraud, the irregularities. QAnon's a big one right now, big tech censorship and conspiracy theories. So that's just kind of the overarching topic. It's kind of the trend right now, right? Is there's a lot of things going on with that. So that's kind of where we're going to be going. I have a guest coming in a little later, kind of talk about QAnon, his thoughts on that. But again, your guys' questions, your thoughts on everything is tremendous. I want you guys to participate. I want your guys' thoughts. But again, I'm letting you know how I feel, kind of giving you a perspective of where I'm coming from and why we're heading the direction that I think this country, unfortunately, might be heading. So let's get started. Just want to let you know a little bit about myself. For you guys who don't know me personally, I'm a Marine Corps vet, a single father to amazing children, a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old daughter. A 17-year-old's a boy, plays football. I've coached college football. I've gotten my degrees. I've lived all over the country. It's been fantastic. And now I've actually been unemployed for a while because of coronavirus. I've tried the job pool. It's not working out. 400 plus applications. So just a little bit to hear from me and where I'm coming from and things that are going on in my life. But let's get right into the meat and potatoes of exactly why I'm here. And again, the first thing I want to talk about is my thoughts on Election Day 2020. And let me preface this too. I think that what's happening right now, as I go through this, I kind of want to build a case, not so much an actual specific lawyer court case type, but I do want to go ahead and build a case as to why so many people are angry and why they're doing the things that they're doing, and why they're lashing out, and maybe something that we can do to help each other hopefully get past that. Election day, it seemed like a normal election day, as in the day itself. Obviously, coming up to the election itself, it was nothing but abnormal. You had the news flying 24/7, and it seemed to change on a whim, 180 degrees every hour of the day. There was something new about every single person that was going on. It was crazy. It was insane. There was fraud. There was big tech. There was Hunter Biden. I mean, it was just incredibly, it's almost overwhelming the amount of stuff that was coming at you at all times. So election day comes, and at the end of the night, I'm sitting here, and I stayed up till about 4 o'clock in the morning watching a live stream of the election tallies coming in. And the election had pretty much dwindled down at that point. I believe Donald Trump was in the lead. And about 4 o'clock in the morning watching this live stream, they said, look, unless something incredibly weird happens, this is Donald Trump's thing. He's got this in the bag. A couple states had already stated that they were done counting for the night, which was a little odd, a little weird. It was referenced in the stream that I was watching. But they said, at this point, unless something really strange happens, this is going to be Donald Trump's president. His second term. And then something weird did happen. Now, what that was, a lot of people will argue. They'll say, it was a lot of this incoming ballots and things. And I'm not going to get into who's right and who's wrong. But I did want to go into just a couple things, just to hit on the irregularities. And again, this is kind of building up that full case, right? It was really odd that states had stopped counting in the middle of the night and then started again. And that is true. Some counties did not stop. So that's kind of the fact check. They say, well, not all states didn't stop counting. Well, no, but the majority of counties in those states did stop counting. And some of those that were in there were filtering through. So yes, they had stopped counting. Some things like boarding up of windows to prevent poll workers coming in. There's video evidence of that. It's all over the place. And I'm not trying to peddle conspiracy theories. I'm just trying to have you look at it with an open mind. You see, you see these things being boarded up. You're seeing poll watchers being said, "Hey, you've got to stand 20 feet away." When you can't even you don't even know if there's printed anything on that paper. Right? So, let alone being able to signature match and verify the signatures on these things. And then you have boarded up windows. You have poll workers being kicked out of places. You have a lot of these really weird things happening, not to mention the very large dumps that happened. That did happen as a fact. And I know there are some arguments to say, well, there's reasons why that happened. But regardless of that fact, this happened. And there was enough there that people go, this isn't right. We go ahead and add in some things like bellwether, right? For anybody who doesn't know what a bellwether county is, there's generally 19 bellwether counties, and what those are counties that have almost always, since the early 1900s, have always predicted the president. And when those bellwethers select who's going to be the president in those counties, that's how the country votes for it. That's why they call them bellwethers. Trump had won 18 of those 19 bellwether counties. So in any other election, you would say, just based off of that, that Trump should have won. Now, I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying add that with everything else that you're seeing. Iowa, Florida, and Ohio, he won those and yet lost the election, which had only happened once, and that was Richard Nixon. If you're interested, I'm not going to go into the history of that election versus Kennedy, but if you're really interested in the election of Nixon and Kennedy and what happened with the electors, electoral college and the votes there, look into that. It's really quite fascinating. And Hawaii, just remember that. So, you're piling onto these things, and now all of a sudden you have some things that Atrium County in Michigan, you get this switch, right? That, it looks like we accidentally swapped, and you're going, okay, well, now we got this, that, the other thing, this. Okay, so what's really going on, right? And so now people are really starting to get agitated that nobody's really taking into account their voice, or nobody's listening to them. And all of a sudden, You get these people that are coming out saying, I saw this, I know what I saw, I'm willing to sign an affidavit, I'm willing to do these things for these people. And nobody's listening to them. They throw them off as conspiracy theorists. And that'll piss anybody off. That would piss me off. If someone goes, nope, I'm not going to listen to you because we're right. Why are you right? Well, our investigative journalists called the people and they said it was good. So that's good enough for us. And that's not investigative journalism. That's just a phone call. So people are getting really pissed off and they're really, really confused at this point. And they really don't understand what's going on. There's not a whole lot of answers. There's just a lot of more questions that are going on, more video evidence, things that are going on, and nobody can really explain these things. So then what happens is, you see the water leak, the pipe leak in Georgia. They said we had to shut down in Atlanta, Georgia because of this pipe leak, and the pipe leak really didn't exist, so they made that and fabricated that up and kicked everybody home. But so the end of this is just saying, look, there's a lot of things that were going on that people are like, this just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Why is this all happening? Because this is, at least in the perspective of past elections, has never been this, maybe spotlight this high on it before, right? So now people are getting worried, they're getting frustrated, they don't understand. People are coming out to vote in droves. Obviously, at the end of this election, you understand that this is the most populous election that has ever happened. More people came out to vote than any other time in history. So people aren't understanding what's going on, and they feel like their voices aren't being heard, their votes aren't counted, which again is what a lot of people didn't vote, is why a lot of people didn't vote to begin with, is because they believed their voices weren't being heard. So now all of this is going on, and then now you get into just actual election fraud cases. Now I'm going to go ahead and post a link down here for actual fraud cases that have been not debunked, but have been tried in a court, and the people have been punished for actual fraud cases. You talk about voter rolls not being expunged. You talk about mail-in ballots, you throw that in. When you throw in mail-in ballots, here's the thing with mail-in ballots, and here's why some people will say, well, mail-in ballots are a good thing, and I don't disagree. I think any way that you can go ahead and open up a voting to anyone is a great idea. What I think was not good was trying to force mail-in ballot a couple months without trying the system in a full mass. In the state of Michigan, for instance, if you were on our voter roll, you got a mail-in ballot. That was just the way it was. And so now you have this mass balloting going on. There's no signature verification for these ballots. And then we talk about the states who decided to change, of course, the 12th Amendment of the Constitution. If you guys don't know, and I don't want to get too wordy in the history in the Constitution, so I'll have you guys look it up. But the 12th Amendment it really says that the state legislatures, right? The state legislatures shall go ahead and create any election laws in the state that they are in. So state legislatures will meet and say, okay, we need to change this election law, and it's their right to change it to whatever they deem necessary. Whatever their state allows them to do, they can change it. They vote on it, they pass it through, voila, the states can do anything they want. They want to mail-in ballots, that's fine. They want to do mail-in ballots and everybody's got to wear pink tutus. Whatever they want, they can pass. That's fine. That's not a federal thing, it's a state thing. What it does not allow is other government officials or parties to bypass the process to create election laws. And that is where some of these issues came in. You talk about the state of Texas when that Supreme Court came through, right? Texas said, hey, look, these other states are not abiding by that 12th Amendment. They didn't create their own laws. They didn't go by the laws that are set forth in the 12th Amendment. So thus, we have an issue here because they're allowing someone to be voted, or they're allowing these voting rules and regulations to happen without actual proper authority whatsoever. So now you have, again, all of this is coming and people are going, they're pissed off. They're mad at this. And everybody sees it, right? You see the divide. You see the amount of visceral attacks online. You're a commie or you're a Nazi, and there's really no in between. And that's kind of a sad part to be in. And so then we get to the point where we're getting to recounts, right? We talk about recounts. And people are like, well, we got recounts. So we've done the recounts. We've done these recounts. They're fine. See, we told you so. There's a problem with recounts versus an audit, though. A recount, if you have 50 blue pieces of paper here and 50 red pieces of paper, and you put them through a recount, you're going to get 50 blue and 50 red. But if each single piece of paper has a date of birth and a signature that matches another signature with an address, and you don't compare those signatures with the other signatures of the ballot, the outside ballot, if you don't compare to see if even the signatures match or if the address is valid or these other things, whatever the state allows, then you're not really verifying the ballot itself. And that's where a lot of the issues came in with, with the recount versus an actual audit, and the audit wasn't being done. Now you have hearings that are going on in Arizona and Michigan and Georgia, and these guys are listening to these people talk about what they experienced on election day and thereafter and even before. And the states go, yeah, that's good. Well, okay, well, everything that anybody wanted was just a fair play. Hey, look, we don't know if anything happened or anything didn't happen, but if you could just investigate, right? If you could just, I don't know, actually send investigators in and take a look at some of these machines or take a look at this process, that's all we want. Just really, really investigate it and really make sure it's right. And then they say no. No, not going to do it. No, we're not going to do it. What happened, happened, period. And now you've just sparked a powder keg. You've literally stuffed a barrel with black powder and you lit it on fire. All you have to do is now you have to investigate. Now, some people say, we talked to the people in charge and they said everything was good. That's like asking the person who robbed a bank if they robbed a bank. They're going to tell you absolutely not, I didn't rob no bank. And then you being okay with that answer and saying, okay, that's good enough investigation for me. You didn't rob the bank. That's not fair. And as an election as contested as this one was, it's really driven a wedge between the people who want election integrity and those who are just like, my guy won. That's it. And some people will say, well, Hillary was close in Michigan in 2016. And you know what? It was everywhere in her right to go ahead and demand a recount in the state of Michigan. She didn't. She didn't. Right? And there's things like this happen. Nixon was close by 6,000, I think it was 6,000 votes in one of the states. And he didn't ask for a recount. He said for the betterment of the country. But it is their constitutional right when it is that close to go ahead and ask for those recounts. So, and Al Gore obviously did it as well. What I'm saying is that if they would have done thorough investigations through and through to all these cases and just kind of really, they had 2.5 months to really dig into it and really send some partisan, unbiased people in to really investigate these things, they might not have had such a divisive political climate. I'm sure it's politics. It'll always be divisive, but it wouldn't be so Civil War drawn at this point. It really is a left and right, a blue and red machine going on. And it's just getting worse right now. And so then you have places like Arizona that says, oh, okay, so the state legislator wants to send all these Dominion voting machines to investigate. Us here in Maricopa County have deemed that we're not going to allow that to happen. Why? Why would you not want to check the integrity of the election? If your person won and you are fully confident of that, why would you not just go, you know what, here, go check it out. It's cool. We know our guy won. There's no problem with it. Check it out. We'll see you in a week. Have a good time. But no. They're actually fighting it in court through the Supreme Court right now about that. And this is where it gets scary and this gets weird. And I know so many people are disenfranchised with this, but we've got to hold on, right? We have to hold on to this. Now comes QAnon. And a lot of people don't know who Q is. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not exactly a QAnon guy myself. I know what they've done. I know what they've said. To the most part, I've seen their things on Twitter. But when you vote, and you go and vote for the first time, and you feel like your voice isn't heard, and then you say, okay, I get it. My voice wasn't heard, my guy wasn't picked. But there's a lot of weird things happening, which I just described to you. A lot of weird things. Can you at least investigate it? And the same people say to you, no, we're not going to investigate it. Well, these people are looking for someone to help them out. We're told that in order to change democracy, in order to change the way things work in this country, our voice is our biggest weapon. And yet, the voice gets shut out. And when we say, well, let's investigate, it gets shut out and it gets completely squashed. So what do you think we expect to happen when QAnon comes up and says, oh, there's a plan? There is these things that are in motion that are going to happen, right? And we're going to go ahead and put this in place, and we're going to watch. People will say conspiracy theories. People will say these different things. I'm not going to get too much in the QAnon thing at all. I do have a gentleman who is going to join us here in a second. Elliot Truthe, he's going to join us, and he has a whole lot more information about QAnon. But this is what I'm going to say about conspiracy theories and QAnon. I always ask people this. Do you trust the government? Do you believe the government has enough money, power, influence, and the ability to carry out anything in a conspiracy theory that they possibly want? And I'm talking about anything. The moon landing. And again, I'm not saying I support these things. I'm just saying, is the government big enough to pull these things off? And I think, regardless of political spectrum, I think the answer to that is yes. The government is limitless. They can do anything within their power and spectrum that they want to make any of this happen. So just on that premise alone, on top of the fact that you've got people that are disenfranchised with the voting system and voter integrity in the systems, their voices aren't being heard, they're driven to somebody that says, hey, it's because these things are happening. And we all know that the government can do these things, right? So now you have QAnon. And they start talking about the plan and these different things that are going to be happening. And these things that are happening behind the scene. Things that, interesting, Q talks about some of the governments outside of the world that are falling, outside of our perspective in the United States. And interesting enough, I've done a little bit of research on some of those, Angela Merkel stepping down in some of these other countries where coups are happening and they're arresting their political parties, and these entire governments stepping down because they don't feel these things are really happening. And these aren't QAnon sources, these aren't 4chan sources. These are legitimate AP News, BBC, USA Today. These are legitimate sources that are saying this. But again, we're so closed right now within our political spectrum that we don't see it. So then it breathes life and fire to some of these theories and thoughts. I'm going to go ahead right now and let's see here. I do want to take a quick second here because I do want to let a guy know, Elliot, know that we're going to be going live, and I'm going to be bringing him in. I'm going to let him know right now. And I'm going to start this up so you guys can watch. Him and I will talk a little bit and get this all going, because I think it's extremely important, and I want him to be a part of this. So he's just replied back. So join a meeting. Oh, let's see here. There we go. Again, if you guys have any questions, now is a great time to start answering them and ask them. And if you have something for Elliot when he comes in here, about QAnon or different things like that, he's going to be available to answer a lot of this stuff. So I want you guys to be able to see some of this stuff and ask these questions. All right. There we go. And at Gmail. All right, cool. Perfect. And here we go. There we go. So we're going to get him in here. I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to get some QAnon stuff, get into it. I haven't gotten a chance to actually speak with Elliot on the call yet or on any calls. I've been in interactions on Messenger and a lot of his posts on Facebook. If you get a chance to follow him, great guy. Has some live videos, does some great chats. He's a real good person. He's got a wealth of knowledge and information. So if you're interested, absolutely make that happen. And we're just waiting for this guy to come in. Come on in, Elliot. Let's see who I've got for... Oh man, I got to call Elliot. There you are. Oh, yep. No, Adam, I did not. I have not gotten a visit at all from the feds, and that's another thing. A lot of people don't know that I was actually in Washington D.C. on the 6th. I went there to again to make my voice heard. I feel like we tried every other avenue, and now was an opportunity for our voices to be heard in D.C. So there was a lot of us there, and Adam was there, and there were quite a few people. Awesome. I think he's here.
Hey, what's good, man?
Good, brother. Let me go ahead and switch you over to the live feed real quick.
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, can't hear you.
Okay, let's see here.
Your mic is muted, that's why.
Yep, there it is. There we go. Is that better? Oh, there we go. Is that better? Can you hear me now? There we go. Oh, let's see here. There we go. I got you now on the... There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
Perfect, brother. I got you. Got it. That's awesome.
Hell yeah, man. Pretty good for being the host and the producer, man.
Man, I got to do it all at one shot. I'm the only one who's trying to do this at one shot, so I'm trying to make it all work. I just got done with a meeting with a bunch of county delegates. We just did a bunch of votes and stuff, so I was right at the tail end of that. I actually left that meeting a little early. And it's one of those things where we can get into the politics of it later. I am part of the GOP.
Yeah, me too.
And it's not what it used to be, and it's not what it is anymore. I think you'd agree with me that it's now become something completely different. And I think we're trying to recorrect that course to be something else.
Yeah, there's a lot of different GOPs.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different fractions now, right? The prescribed Patriot Party, the people who are all the way, people will say the Mitt Romney Republicans, the Reagan Republicans, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's definitely a big tent. Definitely. Yeah, we can get into that later, though, for sure.
Cool. So I brought you in, Elliot, because I know you've got a lot of information on QAnon, on the plan, on some of these things that they're talking about. And I touched a little bit about it again. I know that, I've watched some of the Q streams on Twitter and the things that they're talking about. They talk about, again, some of the governments that are failing, that nobody knows about unless you're really into this stuff. You see a lot of these cities going dark, a lot of these people stepping down and disappearing. And I'm not saying disappearing as in someone threw them in the back of a van and they're gone, but they're just out of the limelight. They're not talking anymore. They're just off the radar.
No, there is a lot of that stuff. I mean, and there's been a whole lot of breadcrumbs. I mean, there was the Italian government collapsed. There was, certain people that had, intel in the intelligence community. They were going to say that as well. The problem is everybody is just taking any sort of unusual geopolitical event, and they're prescribing it to this theory, which basically almost everything that they have the conception of the theory will agree with the theory, and nothing will really disagree with the theory, because the theory is not really coherent enough to really find fine lines where you can debunk it, and it just straddles the line of being very, very, very vague. I don't know. The thing that just really struck me, in the beginning, that really, really rubbed me the wrong way, because I didn't start out. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a Q hater or anything like that.
Sure.
It's not something I've done a one video or so, but I do think there is a lot that's going on with different intelligence agencies who know how to do disinformation similar to what they've done overseas. I think there is definitely there's a textbook way that you do that. And, a way that you do that a lot of times is you'll just sort of, if you can't get somebody to whole hog take on the whole entire narrative that you're selling them, you want to just sort of inject doubt. You want to make them so they're not they're unfocused, and they're between this or that. You just want to jam it up, and you want to really basically disrupt your enemy's morale as much as you can. And there's just so many things that basically we have to basically take a lot of things at faith, that there's this whole entire group of white hats and that they actually want us to know what's going on, and then they're leaking on 4chan. Okay, you have to take that, in faith. And the problem is there's really no way to debunk that. And if you take that in faith, you end up taking a whole lot of other things in faith as well. And it really becomes hard to separate what is real fact and then what is just kind of like conspiracy theory fan fiction that people have just sort of filled in, you know and I mean, I think it appeals to a certain kind of people. It definitely appeals to a kind of person that's on a smartphone, for one. Somebody that doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of time. There's longer QAnon videos, so I'm not saying it's all short attention span content. But somebody that just looks at it real quick, and they just want to get like their little breadcrumbs or whatever, or they just like watch their little TikTok videos. They don't really want to go into it, and do any kind of real analysis and then try to debunk it and figure it out. But the whole opposite of that, and there's a lot of people. There was Anons that did really good research. There's some Anons that are out there. I don't know whether they're associated with QAnon or whatever, but in terms of just finding things right away, like Shia LaBeouf, that guy couldn't catch a break. I mean, there's some people out there that do some, incredible research, and they've been associated with the QAnon stuff. And a lot of the QAnon stuff has probably brought out stuff we wouldn't have looked at otherwise. I think it's done good at this point. I feel like it's kind of, I feel like it's doing more negative. I don't know. It seems like what's really going on right now is we have the Great Reset, and the Great Reset is taking hold in our everyday life. And basically, we need people to stand against the Great Reset.
Now,
otherwise,
now let me interject real quick there for anybody who doesn't know about the Great Reset. And a lot of people will say, "Oh man, Elliot, that sounds like this crazy conspiracy." It's not. It's scarily been tweeted and it's been talked about by actual government accounts like the Canadian government account. And this isn't just some fringe right or left crazy kook hat, tin hat wearing people saying these things. The Great Reset is an actual studied thing that people are talking about, governments are talking about, actually happening on the world stage. So I'll let you take it from there.
Forum. Great Reset is basically a new public relations sort of operation on an old idea, which is basically centralizing power into one government. And it's what they've been going for a long time with projects like the EU and the United Nations. But comes out of those exact same folks. And yeah, it's completely anybody that said that it was a conspiracy theory. I don't know. There's still videos that are out there that claim to be debunking the Great Reset. I haven't actually bothered to watch them because I'm like, this is just so ridiculous. I mean, Klaus Schwab, he it's written a couple white papers about it. I mean, I can pull up the World Economic Forum, the promotional video that they made. I don't know. I did a post a little while back where there was like 10 bullet points that you should expect with the Great Reset. Anyhow, Great Reset is basically technocratic imprisonment on planet Earth by a very small uber elite that has control of everything, and pretty much everybody else is a complete serf, and we're not even really allowed to go outside, or do anything. And that is all. They have accelerated their agenda so much that it is all basically right in front of your face. This is just pivotal time, man. I'm like, with all the stuff that's going on, all the stuff that I'm reading here, I think I can wake up anybody that's, even a lefty. I mean, with the amount of information that I have, what they're actually putting out there. So I feel like there's just so much there that, we really, 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 is the key to beating these people, because it's their own documents. Maybe it's not the only key, but I mean, this is really, really, really potent information when you actually start looking at their books. You look at Julian Huxley, you look at the Great Reset, you look at the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is the whole entire reason why we have the Great Reset, why they're bringing this in. It all makes sense. It's so well documented, and we have to fight against it. It's a human extermination plan, plain and simple.
Well, and it's funny you say we got to fight against it because a streamer that I follow quite a bit, a guy by Tim Pool, by who no means
Oh, I
is.
love Tim Pool.
Yeah, and he's and you know as well as I do, he is not right wing. He's middle of the road, but
He's a milk toast fence sitter.
yeah, exactly what he says, right? If you get a chance to watch it, anybody who's in the stream, Tim Pool's fantastic. Puts out a ton of content. Streams at 8 o'clock every day. Fantastic guy. But he talked about fifth generational warfare. And
Oh, yeah.
what we're fighting right now is with the opportunity and the ability to go ahead and reach out and see anything we want in technology. It is so easy to manipulate. I mean, think about it, right? We can manipulate numbers on a simple tax form to make it so that we get a larger tax refund. Why can't we manipulate all kinds of other things, that psyops that we talk about, right? So that people go, Elliot, you're just crazy. You need to be put away. We're done talking to you because everybody says you're crazy. When in reality, you've been espousing truth the entire time, right, Elliot? Truth. You've been espousing this truth the entire time, but nobody believes you because there's this psyops that's happening above you that goes, don't listen to that guy. He's crazy. He's got nothing for you. Blah, 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 blah. And people will go, yeah, I mean, and then when you start digging into it, you go, okay, well, you know what? Maybe Elliot's onto something. Maybe he's got something there, right? Let's dig into it a little bit. And you start digging, and now all of a sudden you see blue, green, red, yellow, and you don't know what to believe. Someone's telling you the exact opposite of what you are, and someone's agreeing with you, and someone's telling you something completely different out of left field than what you're believing.
Totally.
And so for people who don't do research and really understand this, I can see where overwhelming them with all this information is so difficult, and the research is so hard for them to see. They just go, you know what? It's just easier for me to say Elliot's a conspiracy theorist, so that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm just gonna lock him away, and that's it. I don't have to deal with it,
Oh no, there is a lot of that, and they rely on that element of apathy in order just to get people to not do it. The other thing that they found out that works far more effectively than trying to refute any arguments or anything like that is just ridicule.
Sure.
Ridicule is the primary weapon. I mean, that's the whole entire thing, that they created the conspiracy theory for, that whole entire concept, which is just a fallacy. I mean, it's just we call it the conspiracy theory fallacy because, I mean, it's just a complete error in logic. It's absurd. But I don't know. I think what you have to do is, and it takes a long time to do this, but if you can, you have to, because a lot of it's a confidence game, and you have to, if you can't get through to them, you have to basically just show how like ridiculous it is or whatever. It's like, I am going to commit murder at a Motel 6, and then I'm going to kill my sister or whatever. Right? Obviously, I'm not doing this. It's just for the sake of conspiracy. But then when the police come in and, they find me and I've got the meat cleaver, it's still in my hand, my fingerprints all over, I'm just going to say that's a conspiracy theory. So
And they
I
believe
never
it.
was here or anything. So, I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous, like how they can do that. And, trust the plan. That's just not a good motto at all. You should never trust anything, even if you do have a plan, and especially in intelligence. Your plan. You're a veteran. I don't know. I mean, you definitely could probably speak on this much better than I do. But from what I have experienced in life, okay, you have a plan, but you have about 6 or 7 different alternate plans when you have to improvise because you can't hardly plan. You have unknown unknowns. So the idea that there's some gigantic QAnon plan, and the plan is just so intricately created like this, I don't think you can even create anything like that.
You can't. There's nothing you can do that's a back plan to the unknown to the unknown. There's nothing you can do. And the only thing you can do is arm yourself with knowledge from both sides. I like to constantly go into, for instance, I'll go into left-wing and liberal media sites and I'll listen to what they have to say, why they think what they, and it's heartbreaking. It really is because of the way they think of people. Even the Tim Pools of the world are Nazis. And it's like, you can't get it through their heads, and there's nothing you can do. There's no amount of evidence. There's no amount of anything that can get it. I've got friends on my Facebook who are very much the same. I love them to death. I love Americans. If you're for America, I'm for America. And I don't care what your political leaning is. I want people to live and the pursuit of happiness, life, and liberty. That's what, we the people, that's what it's all about. And I think there's a group of people, a large group of people that are just like, well, it's for the greater good that we have to do this. And they get sucked into this for the
Yeah.
greater good without even knowing why they're doing the thing they're doing for the greater good. They're just being told what they're being told, and they're living off that fed fear for them.
I think a lot of them have a fetish for authority.
Yep,
Like
probably.
it's deep seated. Like that's something. Or I mean, the way that people get into like trying to take control of their personal power, um, even though that's kind of probably not the best way to describe it, with communism, with people virtue signaling, which is just basically like the death of reason, pretty much. But the way that they um, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? Um, I don't know. Way they try to do that, basically, it's hard to talk to them. I mean, there's a lot of other people that you might have a different issue with. Like they might sort of be, you might be able to talk to them, but you can't actually really agree with them or get them to agree with you on what an oppressive government looks like, and what a less oppressive or a more freer government looks like. Because I'm like arguing with my mom, and she is a Democrat. She voted for you know all the Dems or whatever. But she doesn't seem to have any problem, with all the executive actions that Gretchen Whitmer is doing, just completely circumventing the legislature, but yet she says, I don't want to be, I don't want Trump to run me like a king or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't actually have any sort of coherent relation to reality whatsoever. I mean, the way that he ran it, I mean, Trump was, I would say, if anything, man, like Trump should have been stronger,
Yeah,
on a lot of that
I
stuff,
agree.
I
And
mean, he
that's
wasn't.
he wasn't he was and I'll tell this to people, he was the catalyst, he was what we needed to break through the barrier of
Yeah.
what was just to be expected of government officials. He's that catalyst that we needed. He wasn't the leader that we needed. And for all the good that Trump did, he did some fantastic things, but he also did some bad things. I didn't agree with him, and I think a lot of Trump supporters can get on that train and say, yeah, he was bombastic. Yeah, he probably should have
Yeah.
kept off his Twitter feed a little bit. He could have been very Ronald Reagan esque, but that being said, he was very anti-establishment,
Oh
and I
yeah.
think that pulled the veil away from what big government was, and people went, "Whoa, what is really?" And that opened that seat that the door for QAnon and
Trump
for
repped on a
everything.
shit ton of people, man.
Yeah, and they were like, "What is going on in this world? What is going on with government?" And he pulls his veil back, and now as you see, he leaves office. You can see that sea that was parted is coming back together as
Yeah.
Republicans are like, "Oh yeah, we're disavowing Trump. Yeah, we need to get back together and we need unity." And for all the bad things that I have that I can say about Democratic policies.
Mm.
And some Democrats that I can't stand. And there's Republicans, trust me. Mitch McConnell can go to hell. I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him. He's establishment as they all can be. But that being said, the Democrats are fighting a war that Republicans don't even know is existing right now. And they're
Yeah.
all on the same front and they're pushing it hard. And we don't have anybody in office. Actually, no, I take that back. We have females in office right now that have more balls than the men that are sitting right now there in public office. And that's the
That's
sad
kind
truth.
of that's a lot. That's not unique to that area.
It's too bad because
Yeah.
as a conservative man, as a Republican, at least right leaning to that degree, we talk about men being traditionally strong and ones who support women and will help lift up women. And in this case, it's like a role reversal. You have women that are just, and for all you women out there that are looking for public office, I pray to you that you guys are doing a fantastic job. You're making the
No,
men look.
I'm all about it, dude. I support him like 100,000%, man.
Oh,
I'm not like one of those people that's down on like female empowerment or whatever, man. Whoever's got the best skill set for the job should do the job. I think what's kind of happened though is one thing that I've noticed is you are right, but it's primarily the whole strong women generation is primarily in millennials.
yep,
And
yep.
millennial men are just a lot more feminine. They're a lot less tough. They've been programmed so long that, a lot of them just don't feel right exerting themselves as men. So that's something that I think has happened. And, whereas women have been a lot more encouraged to.
Sure.
recently.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happened. I don't know. It's just one of the other multitude of ways that they have just messed up our society in order to promote this whole social Marxism agenda. But I mean, there is what it is. I mean, I'm certainly glad that the women are stepping up.
Sure.
And there's a lot of like really really cool good, smart, attractive women that are filling that space. So it's unusual, but I mean, I am not complaining one bit.
Not at all. And I'll actually go ahead and segue into this next part. I'm shocked. We're about to hit 45 minutes on this live stream right now,
Nice,
and I have not been taken off. I'm I'm
nice.
shocked. I'm maybe I'm not doing a good enough job. So maybe I've got to get out there and do a better job to really push it. I've been banned. Well, I've been removed on Twitter and Facebook here and there. We've had those little bans, but I haven't been permanently yet. And I wouldn't be shocked if this gets eventually through or somebody in my Facebook family sends it. But we all want to talk about big tech censorship.
Mm-hmm.
And the real big divide here, people will say, well, big tech, they can do what they want to do. And you know what? I'll just say how I feel. It's a company, and if they want to create the rules that they want to create, I'm okay with that. But you have to apply equally, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not. That's the problem that we're seeing, is that if you're going to say this isn't good for you, then you have to say this isn't good for them either, and
Mm-hmm.
do it that way. And it is not, and it's obvious. It's not even hidden anymore. There's not even any kind of hidden. It is blatantly obvious, and it's been
Yeah.
seen over and over
Well, they don't even
again.
care.
At all.
Yeah. Yeah, no. From what I've seen about that, I think that basically laws just lag behind where technology is. A couple decades or so. So it made sense for if you ever had a storefront that you could actually police freedom of speech, in that private area, and with what they're doing now, I mean, yeah, you could say that, expect them to actually treat everyone equally, but there's no way that anybody's ever going to do that. That's just not human nature. They're going to enrich their friends and they're going to punish their enemies. So I like what DeSantis has done. Some people
Yes.
have talked about actually eliminating Section 230. However, I don't think that's a good idea because you have all smaller blogs that they need like copyright protection.
Yes.
Otherwise, it might be a small website and they're not actually able to get off the ground. These big law firms can come in and just take them down. So there's a reason why you have Section 230. I think it's just sort of the way that it is with the vaccine issue, where you have people being insulated from from liability. So
Right.
you can't sue big tech. I mean, I guess some people have started doing it now, so I don't know what recently changed. But actually, you know what? I might be wrong on that. I thought you couldn't because they had Section 230 immunity, but that's kind of a nuanced issue. So
Steven Crowder does. Steven Crowder is taken on Facebook right now. He's got a
yeah,
huge
so is
lawsuit.
Laura Loomer and or Candace Owens and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a bunch of other people. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I know they had some sort of immunity protection. So probably we need to get rid of that. They probably need like less special, they probably need Section 230 reform
Agreed.
rather than
Agreed.
elimination. I think we should see how everything goes in Florida because if that actually works and Floridians are able to get accountability within big tech, at least, people that are posting, in the state of Florida, then other states could adopt that as well. And then maybe we institute it at the state level. And then, eventually maybe it'll come at the federal level. But, with this administration, I'm not expecting anything.
Well, and it's interesting you bring it up too, and I find it funny that DeSantis is doing it because again, Tim Pool said it. He goes, if you want to hit him in the pocketbook, you elect the state legislatures that will pass laws very similar to what Florida is about to go ahead and enact. And you
Yeah.
go ahead and hit them there, and now all of a sudden you get 3, 4, 5 states that are doing this, and all of a sudden big tech goes, okay, you know what? You're right. We're not going to play this game anymore.
Yeah, just a couple of states, that would have a
So
huge difference.
absolutely.
You'd have you'd have a difference. You'd be able to look at, what a state that has that protection versus everybody else.
Yeah, and I think DeSantis. I hope he doesn't run, only because Florida needs him. I think he would be a good candidate. I'm sure the GOP is looking at him as a groomed candidate, but I really hope he does stay in Florida. I know that Trump is still out in the air about whether he's going to be running or not. I'm sure we'll be hearing that for the next 3.5 years about him, yes or no or whatnot, and these other things.
Yeah.
Um, but it's um, David said term limits. That's
Yeah.
another reason I'm doing this, and I'm going to be doing this on a regular basis. Is I want to go ahead and put out the feelers, and I want people to understand where I'm coming from because right now, in this, and I have told you this already off the camera. I'm looking at running for political office, and I won't
Mm.
mention what office yet. I'm still going ahead and kind of hedging my bets and looking and meeting with people. But I think it's important that candidates really reach out to people and find out what people are thinking about, and not just going up and doing $1,000 plate dinners and talking to the people who can give them the most money. I think it's the grassroots people, the grassroots
Mm.
candidates that do the best because they have the ear of the people, and the
Right.
people are the ones that vote, not the corporate elites, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm doing this one to be able to talk to people like yourself who has a ton of really really good stuff, and two to go ahead and let people know where my position is on a lot of things. There's so many things to cover. It's incredible the amount of stuff
Yeah.
that we have to cover. Um, I really truly stand by the principle of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I wouldn't say I'm an originist of the Constitution, but I'm telling you right now, I don't believe in straying too far. And I think, without getting too nerdy on it, if people want to read the Anti-Federalist papers
Mm.
that were written against the Federalist papers, the Anti-Federalists, it's really interesting. It's fascinating. It's probably the most driest, boring thing you'll ever read. And you'll have to read it 3 times over again to even get
Right.
it. But what they're really concerned about is what's happening right now in government. They were afraid that if the Constitution got ratified, that it would allow so much leeway that what's happening today in today's government would happen. And lo and behold, it's
Oh
happening.
yeah.
Um,
No, I mean, it's almost kind of like I'm getting kind of cynical about it, man, because they're basically talking about making, DC a state, making Hawaii a state, or was it Guam or whatever?
yep.
Uh,
Puerto Rico,
Basically adding
all
two more
those.
states on. They're both going to have big Democratic majorities, and then they're going to just pack the Supreme Court, and they're just going to make like a Supreme Court that just has like 100 justices. So then the Supreme Court just acts like Congress, which is just going to be. It just sounds like Venezuela to me.
Yeah. Well, and I've been telling people this too right now. Joe Biden. I almost feel sad for the guy. You know, I I've never agreed with anything he's talked about. I've never agreed with his policy.
Mm.
As a man, I've never the things that he's done. I've never agreed with him. If you look at Joe Biden, like for instance during the Clarence Thomas,
Yeah.
and things like that, that is not the same. That's not the same guy. It is not the same man.
Mm.
Democrats are parading him around, and right now he is literally creating legislation by decree in these executive orders, like a
Oh, it's
king would
absurd,
do.
man. It's absolutely crazy what he's doing. Like the only real silver lining that I think we have out of this is they're so crazy, they're so cringe, they're so terrible. We can wake the left up now.
I think you're right. I think Wall Street is one of these things with the Reddit bets and the GameStop. I think that has been probably the scariest government institutional
Mm.
elitism thing that they did not want to happen. You had a populist left and a populist right go, oh hell no, and they
Yeah.
said let's get together and screw over the establishment. And the government's like, whoa, this, you know what, we're putting a cap on it. And when they did that, that's when the people realized, oh okay, so it really is a game. We weren't just calling your bluff. It really is a game, and now you've shown us your hand. And I think it's really starting to wake up both left and right that are going, we're being played and have been for a very very long time, and we need to take measures to stop it.
Yeah, because I thought that it looked like what they were actually working with, like social engineering. It looked like they wanted to foment an actual physical war, between the communists, or between the Democrats and Republicans, or just people that are here, with all of the things that they've taken, with the way that they've reacted to the six, all that. That's what it looked like. However, that's not happening at all. Wall Street bets came around, and people are saying, I don't, screw this. I mean, we're all the plebs together,
Yeah.
regardless of whether you're, a right wing pleb or a left wing pleb or whatever. So that's good. And the other thing that I think is good that came out of the Wall Street bet situation was, that the user base of Reddit's not too conservative. It's almost all left leaning.
Right.
And they all got called conspiracy theorists, white nationalists, white supremacists, or whatever it was. So, now they know that, obviously it's just something that they smear people with.
I like to say it all the time, and I say this to a lot of my friends too. It's the buzzword of the month. This month, it's been seditionist, traitor, insurrection. Those are the buzzwords of this month. Who knows what it's going to be in the next couple months? But there's always a buzzword, and people are like, "Well, this is what the meaning is," and I have to reiterate it because they always change. And the Democrats are extremely smart about this. They change the meaning and definitions, and then go, "See, look, like racism. You can't be racist if you're black or a minority because you don't have the power to oppress people." No. That's not the definition of racism. It never has been. You changed it because you feel guilty about how you feel about your own shortcomings of racism and prejudice, that you decided, you know what, instead of dealing with my own guilt, I'm just going to change the definition. I'm going to go ahead and try and convince a bunch of people this definition exists. I'm going to write papers. I'm going to send it up to a bunch of platforms and academia.
Well, they're weaponizing it to use it against us, and then basically it just destabilizes the country more, which makes it easier for communist China, to come in, and if they actually do want to attack us or whatever they want to do, we're all messed up.
Oh, it's right now China's going, yeah, this is cash money for us right now. I mean, they love it. They're eating it up. They love it. They absolutely. And I don't think and this is going off a little tangent, and this is just my own personal view. I don't think China will ever physically attack us. One, I don't think they can just because of geographical location. But two, the biggest reason is I think that they need us to be just like a drug dealer doesn't want to kill off their druggies, their addicted drug users. They just want to keep feeding them more drugs, and I think China wants to keep feeding us, so we keep giving them money and power. I don't think they have any intention of actually taking over. Although I've been wrong before. I could absolutely be wrong again, but I know
China has a hard on for the Patriots.
Yeah, yep.
China has a fucking hard on because the people that are, in the Patriot movement are exposing them. We've got their number. I mean, they're committing all these crimes, and half of the population is looking at it, half the other population's not. So that's why, they've been saying that it's a problem for China, saying, oh, it's a problem for Americans to own guns or whatever, because, we got Creepy Joe, and so, China's our boss now. So I feel like, this is super conspiratorial, and, I don't have anything to base it off of at all. But if I was Beijing and I was somebody and I was actually behind the policy of going after the Patriots, everything that's going on with the FBI, then I would want to take out my political opposition as quickly as I could. And if you can, say your political opposition is terrorist or whatever, and then you can take them out, especially if somebody that has really, that's a formidable opposition. That like if they get enough people, I mean, like, can you imagine how much we would be dominating if we didn't have the social media suppression and everything?
Sure. And yeah.
So I don't know. It seems like they're basically going after us. I don't know. I feel like that's what they're going to try to do. I feel like they may even try to go after Trump supporters in general, Second Amendment rights. But the good thing about it is that this story is imploding so bad. So many people think it's so ridiculous to just make this, crazy narrative that's run away out of the Capitol that I don't know if they actually have enough political fuel to get away with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if they do. I do know that is the ploy. I mean, you see it happening now. They big tech is censorship. The ploy of the fake attacks on the Capitol before the 20th. That were supposedly going to happen at all 50 capitals and state capitals and all this stuff. That was, and again, there's nothing I can base this on. I think anybody with half a brain would understand that it was literally a psyops, and it was meant to stir up that hornet's nest on the fringe right, so that people.
There's actually things we could do to prove that. If we look at. I'm sure you saw, we were posting about it, but the flyer for it, it was straight out of Media Matters. I mean, they had the exact same sort of the fonts. It looked like but they basically just took a couple things and put them together, and then just, said a couple of different things. I mean, we would see who was actually holding that event, and then we could see what shell companies own it or whatever, and then, I mean, we could see that it's not. But I mean, you will not, we're going to find that pretty much. That's what I would expect to find just from everything that I've looked at. The problem is the media won't do anything with it, so, we're just shouting on social media about it.
Agreed. And it's I'm glad that we got out. I remember seeing on your page and quite a bit. Do not go to these, because it was a false flag. They were using that in hopes that we would come storming to these capitals. It would only take one capital, one capital in one state for a bunch of armed insurrectionists to go in there and kill a bunch of people, and then they would be like, executive order, no more Second Amendment. And and that's what they were hoping for. They were hoping and planning we would do that.
Right.
And I think we're going to see that increase. And we are already seeing an increase. We're going to see certain pockets that already starting to take shape, and people are going to start trying to pull those away. And we have to be strong on the front. We have to elect people that are going to have the balls to say no. Majorie is she's fantastic. I absolutely love her. She has the balls to step out and do things. The congresswoman out of Colorado, Lauren. I can't even.
Boebert.
Yeah, Boebert. She's fantastic. I wish she was single. But no, the fantastic ladies, and we do have, we have some good guys coming out. You have Gates and Hawley and stuff like that. Some younger that generation that are coming out and really kind of stepping up and saying this isn't going to happen. And we need more people in office that are going to do that. Not people.
That's why we need term limits.
100%. I'm 100% for term limits. If I get elected into a position where I can affect that, that will be my battle cry, because I think it needs to be. I don't want to be in that position forever. Just talking about it on a daily basis and reading the things that I do, which you do on a daily basis, it causes so much stress and anxiety in my life. Just reading about it and going through the different forums and talking about it and having arguments with people, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of pressure. And now I'm going to throw myself into the arena and say, I want more. Somehow I enjoy it. I guess I enjoy the beatings.
I'm the same way.
But it's important that you have people that take it. And I think after a certain time, you can't do it anymore. You need young, fresh perspectives to come in there and mix it up. And so I'll be a huge proponent for making sure there are term limits. I think that's extremely important in Congress. It has to happen. So
that'd be a great issue to take on and have that be like your signature issue.
So Brandy says, so guys, we're nearing about an hour, and I don't know how long this will go. Maybe another 15 minutes, another half hour. It's kind of how we limit this. But if you're watching, I'd really like you to go ahead and post some questions for us. We're going to go ahead and answer them for you. Just things that you think. But Brandy says anybody who stands up for the deep state, they immediately try to get rid of and quiet. And it's true. Brandy's very right about that. It's because they want control. They like the status quo of everybody just kind of plays their part and goes to work every day and pays their taxes and raises their kids and retires and dies. And they love that because that just allows them to gain the power without any of our knowledge to happen.
Yeah.
And they want that to happen. That's why, you and I talked about this earlier, the Wall Street bets was such a huge blow to the establishment, to the political establishment, because they're like, it unveiled what they were truly trying to do back there. And both sides of the spectrum were like, ooh, this is crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is fifth generational warfare. So there's different rules for different groups. And they can basically accuse you of almost any sort of baseless conspiracy theory, and they'll never have to answer for it. Whereas, you have to basically, just answer it, just a criteria, it just, you wouldn't be able to. So you have to really, really, really pick your battles, when you're going to go up against the deep state.
Yeah.
And, it's not a good idea. Obviously, we know that there's a lot of other things that have on with Ruby Ridge, with the Federal Reserve, with the Gulf of Tonkin or whatever else. But, if you're not actually, you have to be really careful bringing that up because, we have a press that's weaponized and, you say one wrong thing. They'll just dedicate 4 channels, to just dragging you through the mud. And, people still fall for it, like everybody brings it up to me because it's what they're supposed to be talking about. What do you think about this crazy congresswoman lady? And I'm just like, man, I think that that's what the media wants you to talk about because, you're a cat with a laser pointer.
Yeah.
So,
And
but I don't say that because I won't have any friends if I do that.
well, it's so amazing to me, and again, we could talk hours on all kinds of different factions of politics. You could talk about. I think Heather had a message on Facebook or a post on Facebook talked about the Federal Reserve. We haven't even gotten into the military establishment yet, which I was a part of the military machine. I mean, there's so many parts to the government that we haven't even nicked the snowflake on top of the ice cube on top of the iceberg. We haven't, and we're just now, and there's so much, and then what's buried underneath. And you're right. We have to pick our battles. We have to go ahead and win where we can win, and start gaining that steam. We start gaining that steam. We can pull things back, and we can start. But we have to start small because if myself, John Rocha, decided I'm taking on the military establishment today, I'd be done in 30 seconds.
Right.
If that, there's no way I could absolutely do.
I don't even think that's a good idea for
No.
Rand Paul to take on the military establishment. He's going to have like a real well thought out plan. You have to know where you're going and why you're doing this. Otherwise, it's too easy to just trip you up.
So Brandy says, do you think we are at a civil war level?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you actually will define civil war. I don't think so, personally. We have some tensions that get kicked up on social media. We have some fringe groups that are people that are really, really amplified, and some people go out and do some shit. But I think that in terms of making it like racial, that's not happened. There's too many multiracial people, that are conservative, and there's just too much. I think there's too much. I don't think people really want it. So I don't know. There might be something with maybe small pockets of factions like Antifa doing stuff or whatever in big cities, but I don't know. I think that they're trying to get us in one, but I don't think we're finding like unity with Wall Street bets and stuff like that.
I think I agree with you. I don't think we're there yet. I think if it keeps going down this, but you're right with Wall Street bets. I think we find a unifying side. I do believe that we are in a type of civil war, like we talked about before, a fifth generational psyop civil war, where we're really after the hearts and minds and that knowledge for people. And I think that is really going on and playing into that divisiveness. But as far as civil war that we're used to seeing on the historical level, with two factions and butting it out, I don't think
that actually doesn't even exist anymore.
It doesn't. And especially in a country this large, I don't think you'll see things like Proud Boys and Antifa have small skirmishes in different towns and cities and stuff like that. But I don't think you'll ever get it to where it's like that. There's on a side note though, if you haven't seen it yet, there's a movie called The Second Civil War. Came out in '97, and it's a dark comedy with James Earl Jones. It's interesting. And it starts off with Idaho, of course, being all the states you could choose, decided they weren't going to take some Syrian refugees, and they denied the refugees the president, and so they decided to secede, and then they followed into Texas, and then it's this dark comedy, but there's so many undertones that you can relate to in today's political climate. So
that actually sounds like it'd be good to check out. I like stuff like that.
Yep, it's very, very fun. But it's sad. It really is a sad one. So that's where, Brandy. That's where I don't think we're gonna be there yet. I think I absolutely think we could get there, but again, I don't think it'll ever be to the way we saw North versus South, where we have lines of people. I don't think we'll ever see that again. It'll be, if we ever do get into a physical conflict within the country. I honestly think that before we actually get into that physical conflict, I think you'll see states say, you know what, it's better just to separate and be our own than fight again. That's just my personal view. I think that's what would happen before you actually saw an actual physical conflict. So, the David Wesner, he says, he goes, we have 2 years to take the House and the Senate. How do you unite and bring change to the obvious constitutional law infringement? The law was broken and not heard in the courts.
I think, well, I mean, we're gonna have faith issues with the federal government for a long time. Sure. I mean, we should have never trust the federal government or any government anyway, but we should be able to have a little bit more credibility in them than this. But like I think, I say the first action, first thing on the agenda, first and foremost, is election reform, because we have to make sure that the way that all the things went wrong this time are prevented from doing so in the future. So I think that if we can get election reform, then we can get some new people in there. But without election reform, I mean, I'm scared the same things might happen again, though it probably won't, honestly, unless they just really decide they just don't care at all what anybody thinks of them, and they just completely drop all optics, and they give the freaking Democrats another trifecta,
Right.
or whatever. But I don't know. I think that would be too obvious at that point. You'll have a bunch of establishment Republicans. Republicans will probably have a gigantic landslide in 2022.
I agree. I think for me, Dave, I think the biggest thing is that when there's obvious constitutional law infringement, I think you look at Governor Gretchen and her obvious infringement into constitutional law in Michigan state constitution. I think there has to be accountability, and what I mean by that is the example that I always tell people is in the Middle East they don't steal. You know why? Because you got your hand chopped off if you did. Enough people got their hands chopped off. They said, you know what? I like my hands too much. I'm not going to steal, and that became the calling card over there. And I think right now what happens, and I think you'd agree with me on this, there's two-tier justice system. There's those that can afford the best, the brightest, and the loopholes that are afforded to them in the system, and then there's the rest of us. And we don't have that option, and so they get slap on the wrist, censure, which is a bunch of bullshit in my opinion. And that's all they get. And there's no accountability how. Gretchen Whitmer did this unconstitutionally for 6 months. Is there any reparations for the businesses that will no longer exist after 30, 40 generations that were in their family? No.
They're part of the Great Reset. So that's why she's like, I'm part of the Great Reset. I know that all these other people are pushing it. I mean, that's what the lockdowns and everything else is. So she feels insulated. And then, they've got the courts on their side. No, we have to change that, man. There's a lot to change. There's a lot of stuff to change culturally too. It's a huge undertaking.
I agree that it's overwhelming culturally. Again, I think you start taking some high officials and putting them in prison.
Yeah.
For doing the things that they're doing. After a while, these people will go, okay, so we're not protected either, and you'll start to see the culture and politics and government start to change slowly, but start to change when they realize that they're not protected like they used to be. But that's a huge undertaking. Again,
from what I've heard is like everybody that tries to get all the mess and the darkness out of government comes up with a couple different scenarios of how that they can try to do it, and they always go wrong, and then they just end up concluding that they can't actually unravel the darkness in government. Those people are insiders, though, so I'm not going to say that they're not there, but that's probably the nature. That's probably realistic to what the scope of the problem is.
Heather says, do either of you two think the military is in control?
No. Not in control like Burma. Sure. No, I wouldn't say that at all. That's kind of like a Q thing. Obviously, there's military people that are in control of the people that are under them or whatever. They have a chain of command. But no, I don't think that there's any sort of generals that are whispering in the ears of any sort of civilian leaders, or I don't think they're actually doing it. I don't think that Joe Biden is signing orders on a green screen or whatever. I don't know what they said that. I don't know if she's saying that, but I heard something about that.
I think what you're talking about. It was a video, and someone watched a video of the inauguration. There were a couple of people were there, and then the camera angle changed in the inauguration. And those people didn't exist. And I haven't done other than seeing a 30-second clip on it. I've done because there's so many other things.
There's so much stuff to do, man.
To look at and pay attention to. So I did see the clip. So I honestly don't know much about that. But as far as the military is in control, I don't think so. I think you'd see it a lot differently if they were. I think I just don't think. I think they could be. I think I'm not saying that they are, but that they could take over is what I'm saying. I think they absolutely could do. They have the ability to do, but I don't think they are in control at all. Again, I think if they were, we'd see a lot different. Joe Good says, I think that social issues have been forced into our colleges and universities. This to me is the catalyst to division of young people. What do you think?
Absolutely. Through the Confucius institutions and through, the open society financing everything else that's just financing all of this socialism to promote division. The way that I say it, I don't think it's too hyperbolic. It's hyperbolic, but not too hyperbolic. I almost say that the college campuses are like the terrorist training camps.
Sure. And they have that allure. And you know what? Full context. When I was in high school, I was in a lot of music programs. I was in band and choir, and I wanted to be a conductor for an orchestra when I went to college, and I decided to go to the Marine Corps. I know that's two completely different things. But I was absolutely indoctrinated in high school.
Oh yeah.
I was Clinton all the way, and
Mm-hmm.
George Bush can go to hell, and the planet's gonna die because of the ozone layer. I mean, because you're so young and malleable at that age.
Mm-hmm.
Your minds, you just don't know what to think. You don't have all the tools or the knowledge, or even know where to go, and that's dangerous. And teachers know that, and Democrats know that, and that's extremely dangerous. I think that with the lockdowns and schools going into this era where the teachers don't have their grips on them, and they've said this as much. I've read articles on this where they're afraid that parents are red pilling their kids
Oh
at
yeah.
home because they don't have this indoctrination that they would constantly get fed from 5 days a week while they're at school, and that this isn't good for us. And I think the exact opposite. I think it's fantastic for us. Even if the children never, ever, ever become Republicans or red pilled, at least they're getting a different variety of thoughts and ideas that they can take with them and go, well, maybe not. I don't know. And they can start to think on their own.
Well, we shouldn't be the only people thinking that. That shouldn't be a bias. It shouldn't be something we have to say on live streams. Everybody should feel that way. We have to change the culture.
Let's see. Adam Keller says, guy I used to work with way back in the day. Love this dude. What's all happening on March 4th? I keep hearing about some big event or corruption being exposed.
I have any idea about March 4th. I've heard nothing about it.
I have I want to say that sounds familiar, but that's about as far as I go, Adam. I'm I would guess that probably falls in the whole of 4chan or
Sounds like it.
Q or something like that. So I couldn't tell you. Maybe somebody else in the chat could, but I don't really know. Brandy says she believes that we are at this level ready for civil war, and she thinks voter fraud has been going on. I 100% agree with you, Brandy. There's 100% voter fraud has happened, and I'll say that. And if they cut me off this live feed, then they're just
Oh yeah, that's
admitting
why
to the
you're
guilt.
saying that. That's right.
It's 100% there. I agree. And what can we do about it? We have to be involved on a local level like you never have before, and we have to
Yeah.
have people that are activists. I wasn't in Wayne County, but I can tell you right now that if the election happened today and I was in Wayne County as a poll watcher, they'd have to take me out in handcuffs because I would not
Yeah.
leave without seeing some of the things that are happening, and I'd be recording it on a cell phone and I would spend some time in jail.
That's what it takes, man.
It does. It
That's
absolutely
what it
takes it,
takes.
and you have to have people that are willing to do it. And for at least the betterment of some discussion, people were like, "Well, I didn't want to get in trouble because I needed to see what was going on." It's fair enough, but we need people that are willing to go to the local level and say, "You're not throwing me out until you get me in handcuffs, and I'm going to record every single bit of this conversation. Good luck." And
Yep.
and we need people to get involved on the grassroots. And what I mean by that is not just, I mean, we're doing what we're doing on live because I think it's important and people need to hear these things, but we need to physically get out there and be grassroots activists and participating in this, not just talking about it, but what can we do at the next level? How can we affect change? And that starts with us physically going out there and inserting ourselves in the political spectrum. And it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I'll be there, man. Let me know when, bro.
And then I think I've got one more question from Heather, and she goes, "What are your opinions of the military presence in Washington to this day? Who and why?"
Okay. So I think the best possible explanation for that was if they got so many soldiers that were there, And then they wanted to start priming them to start using the Army on the American people. Then it allowed them to basically start vetting them. And it basically,
Which is scary as hell.
yeah, yeah, it is scary. And it sort of was like a test. They were going to see, you know, if they did, try to pull something or whatever. I mean, they were nervous as hell about it. So who knows, man? I
I
mean, they probably had lots of other stuff on standby or whatever.
I I I don't. My opinion on the military presence in Washington is that it's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's obviously an abuse, a waste of money, and it's a blatant show of force. It's
Mm-hmm.
meant to say, "Hey, look, we're in control now. Don't you dare try." That is
Mm-hmm.
literally what it's there for. Now,
Yeah.
who's running it and why? What the real reasons are? I don't know, but that's my opinion. There's no other reason. There's not. I mean, maybe the FBI and the CIA, but I don't even trust those guys for as long as the letters are that are in their abbreviations. I just don't trust them.
No, no,
So
you shouldn't trust them. They're not
no,
trustworthy at all. You shouldn't trust the government, especially shouldn't trust those guys.
they're so deep in this. I mean, that's what they do for a living is
Yeah.
psyops. That's literally what they were created for is this kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so awesome. Well, hey Elliot, where can people find you? Where what do you do? Where can they find you? Where they can look you up? What you doing? All that other good stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't do a whole lot right now. The best place to find me is just on my Facebook, Elliot Truth, ELLIT, and then Truth with an E. And I'm doing other stuff. I'm also doing a lot of music as well, trying to wake some people up, that aren't traditionally just, hearing a lot of this stuff. Um, but yeah, no, I do live streams. I do music. I do activism. Pretty much whatever, whatever I need to do in order to fight the globalists.
Awesome. Well, Elliot, I appreciate you coming on. I want you on again. I want you and Adam to come on. I love Adam. I've had
Oh yeah,
breakfast and lunch with him a couple times. I haven't seen him in a month and a half or so. So I don't know what the hell he's doing anymore. But
yeah.
um,
We should all three get on here, man. That'd be awesome.
yeah, it'd be a good time. And maybe we'll grab our good friend Heather in here. She can jump in and throw in some stuff. But it was a pleasure having you, man. This is my first one, so I appreciate. We had a lot of views, a lot of good questions, a lot of good conversation, and they didn't take me down. So I'm not doing my job. I got to do better than that, I guess.
All
Uh,
success, man.
yeah.
Thanks a lot for having me on, John.
Thanks, brother. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right, take care, brother.
All right, brother. All right, for everybody else that's there, I appreciate you guys coming on and taking a look at what we have, what's going on, and what we're doing. I'm going to be doing this on a regular basis. Again, this is something that I'm passionate about, and just to let you guys again know that I will be looking to run for elected office here in the future in 2022. So your support means a tremendous amount. I want questions. I want you to ask me what I think about certain things because I want to be an election official for the people. We the people, right? We the people for Congress, and then me for whatever position I decide to run for. So just hit me up with questions. You've got my messenger. Some people have my phone number. Go ahead and throw me questions. Ask me what you think. If you're up for meeting for food or drinks, I'm down for that too. I'm always looking to meet new people and get the word out and just bring new people into our family and our collective and let them know that they are still being looked out after. There are people that want to fight for them, not for the establishment. So I don't know when I'm going to do this again. Probably the next couple days. I'm going to have a whole other topic. It'll probably be coronavirus and double, triple mask and anal swabs and all that good fun stuff and Dr. Fauci himself and all that good stuff. So look forward to talking to you guys. Until then, I will talk to you guys later. And hey, much love to you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.